Uh-oh. What's going on here? That's right. The old turbo is out. So this is a stock Evo 4 turbo, CHRA wise, that I converted over to an Evo 9 hot side. It had an external dump, and the cold side is a Kinugawa 20G, which is actually quite a bit bigger than the factory cold side. So not too bad of a turbo. Lasted pretty well. Honestly, it was okay, but this turbo's been in the car for, I don't know. Let me think here. I've been building this car for 14 years. So I would say this turbo's been in the car for at least like the last 8-9 years. So completely, untouched. I think I may have thrown a rebuild in it again at some point, maybe a few years ago, but I don't really remember. But it worked great. I had an issue with it a couple of years ago, and the clamp came loose on me, and the cold side kind of rocked down, and it damaged the edges of all the turbine blades. So after that, I've always just kind of not super trusted this turbo. So I've kind of had it in my mind that I needed to replace this for a few years, which I couldn't rebuild it again, and I'm probably going to rebuild this again with a Kinugawa green wheel and another bearing kit and sell this. So, because this is, like I said, this is honestly a pretty solid turbo, but given the extent of the engine build on the car, this turbo has always really severely limited the car. So, we still did pretty good on it. Honestly, we pushed this turbo a lot farther than I really even thought was safe. We were pushing 30 pounds of boost through this thing, which that's a lot for a factory turbo and on 93 octane as well. So, but the engine that I've got in the car is it's built 2-liter. Rings are gapped wide, so it's ready to make serious horsepower. And the head is completely done. It's poured and polished. I mean, everything that you can throw at a 4G63, short of doing a dry sump and billet block kind of stuff, has been done to that engine. And it's just always had a lot more flow than what this turbo could do. So, given the issues with this turbo and the fact that engine is been ready to make a lot more power than it has for quite a while, we finally picked up a turbocharger at Black Friday this year. So, without further ado, here is the new setup. So, we've got JD Customs titanium exhaust studs holding an FP cast exhaust manifold, which has been Cerakoted, ARP turbo hardware, and then the turbo itself is a Force Performance UHF green. So it's the Force Performance new UHF turbine, and with their green cold side. And this turbo is supposed to be one of the fastest spooling. It's like the go-to autocross turbo for Evos. They're supposed to spool crazy fast, and especially with the UHF turbine in it, this should really come on boost hard, probably harder than that 20G did. And it's a journal bearing turbo. I was planning on going with a ball bearing one, but after talking with several people, it seems that the journal bearing is probably the way to go for the type of use that this car sees, which is mostly street stuff. I was told that for a racetrack, ball bearing is better because it's going to be smooth surface. You're not going to see, potholes and really hard hits to the suspension and stuff like what you can get on the street. So, and you don't have to worry quite as much about turbine shaft speed with a journal bearing turbo like you do with a ball bearing turbo. So, given all of that information, it seems like journal bearing was the way to go. Plus, it was a lot less expensive. I would have definitely been okay with spending the extra, but the whole point to this is to, throw the right parts at it, not just the most exciting sounding parts. So in this case, it seemed like journal bearing was going to be the way to go. So that's what we did. We've got a Tile MVS wastegate, blue to match the Tile blow-off valve, and it is also Cerakoted, as well as the turbine housing on the green. And there's a lot of things that I've not done before that I tried to do with this. So I actually did AN hard lines for the water lines on the turbo, and made those here. Adapted the stock turbo water lines over to AN. I've had the car's water lines have been AN for several years, but with the other turbo, I kind of got lazy and just really wanted to get it done. So we just shoved an AN barb into the rubber hose, and I took this one out because I needed it for another part. But it's just been it's AN, but it was just the barb fittings, so it was still using the rubber hose. Now I'm all AN hard lines for the water lines, which should be fine given that the turbine is hard mounted up to the car. Those lines shouldn't see a whole lot of vibration. They can still move around if they need to, but I pressure checked the cooling system and it seals up just fine. I don't anticipate having any issues with that. So pretty stoked to actually have AN hardline stuff there. I still need to finish the oil return. I tried to do AN hardline for that. I'm probably still going to try to make one eventually, but is just these Series 2 4G63s that are in the 4 to 9, they have a really complex oil return. It's two different bends and varying degrees of angle, and we tried 4 or 5 different times to make a hard line and just were having issues. I didn't have the right size tube bender, so I was using a spring bender. It just wasn't going super well, so I kind of gave up on that for now, at least, and I'm running AN barbs 245 degrees with some 5/8 tubing, which is waiting over here because I'm still waiting on one of the barbs to come in. It should be here day after tomorrow. So once that gets here, then I can finish the oil system. And the flange for the downpipe showed up today because you have to run a different flange for the Force Performance cast O2 housing, which is what I have on the car. I don't think I mentioned that. I don't know if you can really see it. There's the V-band. It's a V-band O2 housing that adapts to the stock. I don't think I can see it. Oh yeah, you can see it down there, the stock downpipe flange. But the flange on aftermarket downpipes doesn't actually fit it because it's a bigger donut gasket. It's a bigger donut gasket. So I bought the flange from Force Performance. We're going to weld that on either tomorrow or Friday. And then the downpipe will be done. So hopefully by the end of the week, I'll be able to actually start this thing up. And yeah, should be good. I also did the Force Performance oil feed. So you can see that the oil feed on the head is blocked off now. And Force Performance has a oil feed that comes directly from the turbine housing, or from the filter housing. and it's even got a filter on it. We might be able to see it. Let me see if I can get down here and we can have a look. Again, that's made for 8s and 9s, so it's not really intended for this car, but I did some custom work on the chassis and kind of made it work. So this runs up to the turbine housing, or the CHRA, and then over here it kind of runs up and back to the I don't know if you can see it or not. It runs up and back to the oil filter housing. So yeah, you might not be able to see it, but anyway, it works great. Force Performance says that the oil feed from the head tends to have pressure drop issues in certain conditions. Now I've got the Kigley oil regulator in the head, so it might not be as much of an issue on this car, but well, you know, why risk it? So went ahead and installed that, and then yeah, that went fine. You can see the hose right there where it runs down. So yeah, let's see if we can see it a little better. There you go, you can see it there now. So yeah, anyway, along with that, I did brand new Evo 9 water lines, which, like I said, I adapted to AN, but these are the OEM pieces. The green didn't have the bolt hole here, so I made this little bracket to kind of give this line something to hang on to, so it's not just held on by one thing and just floating in the air, because that could actually cause a stress fracture from vibration. So did that on there. The other one actually did have the bolt hole, so I'm not so worried about it. It's got plenty of rigidity. And yeah, that all looks good. The wastegate lines are run behind, in that that's one of the DEI fiberglass heat shield bags, and then those run up to the 3-port. That's all plumbed and ready to go. So yeah, it's real close. I mean, we are right on the verge of having this thing ready to fire up. I'm really looking forward to hearing it. It should, my understanding, it should sound quite a bit different because there's so much more flow with this turbo and exhaust manifold and whatnot. So I'm hoping that it'll have that kind of turbo whistle at idle that you can kind of hear on some big turbo cars. I don't know if it will or not, but it should definitely sound different either way. So I'm looking forward to hearing it. And yeah, hopefully day after tomorrow, I'll be able to fire it up. So after that, I've just got a couple little projects left. I still want to get the bumper painted, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to pull that off this year, given how much we spent on putting this turbo kit together. But yeah, we'll see. If not, it'll probably be in the spring, which might be better anyway, because then we can actually drive the car over to the paint shop and then they can paint match it. I think I mentioned in the last video, I finally bought a buffer. I want to try to wet sand these fenders so that we can get some of the orange peel out of them. And you honestly can't even really see it on camera, but it's there a little bit. So we'll try to wet sand the fenders and make it to where the paint matches a little bit better as far as the shine goes, and try to get this bumper painted so that the exterior will more or less be done, unless I decide to go wide body later. So we'll see. But other than that, the only other projects I need to do, I have the stuff here to make the intake. So I need to make the final version of the intake, which is going to go from here into this air box. I've got brand new Vibrant 3.5 inch 45 degree, 2 of them, so that it can kind of do this into that air box. And then also I need to get online and find a small aluminum box that will fit in this space here And then I'm planning on putting fittings here and here, and I'll probably switch these to 45s so that the catch can sit in here, and then I'll have a drop-in panel filter underneath here. So, and that can fill the space in next to the fuse box. So right there is where I'm planning on putting the catch can. And yeah, filter will go right here. So I think that'll be a pretty nice setup. I'm hoping that it lowers the intake air temps quite a bit. It's you can't really see it a whole lot, but that whole area is open and it pulls air right through this vent here. So driving down the road, it should get a lot cooler air than it has with just having the filter open in the bay. So that should be pretty nice. Plus, it looks sick, which is, you know, that's the important thing. But yeah, it's coming right along. I'm pretty close to done, and I'm getting really excited. So I'm really happy with it. The whole point of all of the modifications that I've done on this car has been to try to make everything easier to work on and more accessible. I needed to move the intercooler piping to drop the radiator fan back in. After getting this turbo installed, you can see just how little clearance there is between that. If I hadn't bent the fan years ago, this turbo wouldn't clear. So, and the green is considered to be small. I almost went with the red, which still would have probably been fine. I don't think that dimension really changes, but yeah, I don't know. I think the green is more than enough turbo for this. If we push 40 psi through it, which we should be able to, given the intercooler pipe setup and the rest of the engine build on E85, I think we can get close to 650 all-wheel horsepower, which if you measure from the crank, that's probably over 900 horsepower. So I think that should be more than enough. You can combine that with fast spool and the fact that this car is, granted I haven't actually weighed it. Stock carb weight on these is under 2,100 pounds. So with the engine upgrades and all the turbo stuff and the all-wheel drive system, I'd still say this is well under 3,000 pounds. So given its weight and that much horsepower, you know, I reckon it's probably 25 to 2,700 pound car. It should be real fast. So I'm really looking forward to getting the car out next year and running it. I think I'm hoping that we'll actually be able to get it over to the drag strip, and I'm hoping we'll be able to get a 10-second quarter mile out of it. There's no reason it shouldn't. I've seen some auto DSM guys even get 9s on this turbo. But I'm not expecting that. I think what I want to do is push this turbo as far as it'll go, and then we'll have multiple boost settings. I'll probably have a 20 psi, 25, a 30, 35, and a 40. I don't know, something along there. Maybe I'll add a trim knob. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll just start at 25 and then go from 25 in increments of 5 psi up to 40 and leave it alone. So we can cruise around at low boost just normally. We'll have a 40 psi kill mode on E85. And yeah, I think that's it. I think we'll be done. So, I mean, I've still got little projects to do. Like I said, once the catch can and the filter are done and we get the bumper painted, I still want to touch some stuff up in the interior. At some point, if I can find one, I really want to get the power sunroof for the car and get rid of the pop-up one. It may be even from a different car. I don't know. We might put something GM in there so that we can get seals and stuff easily down the road. But yeah, we'll see. Remembering that the car is not really a race car. It's not supposed to be a race car. It's a Grand Tour, you know. What we like to do with this car is hop in it and drive it places, drive it to the shootout, drive it to the Tail of the Dragon. And it's been really good for that. You know, here YouTubers talk about, when you modify a car, you can ruin it, make it not nearly as fun. I would say that that's all in the build. I think Gears and Gasoline touched on that here recently on one of their videos. And I would normally agree with them, but I really think that it's all in how you build the car. So this car, like I said, everything I did was to make it easier to work on and make it a really good street car. And it is there. So anyway, oh yeah, I never finished my story. I had to move the intercooler pipe to get the fan in there, and yeah, I just twisted the alpha lock off, pushed it out of the way, dropped the fan in, and then twisted the alpha lock back on. And I kind of had a moment of just like, man, that was so easy. I don't have to worry about any boost leaks or anything. Like, everything is rock solid here. And I'm like, yeah, this was what I was going for, I want everything to be easy to work on. So I think we're just about there. But yeah, like I was saying, after that interior stuff, when we redid the seats, we swapped the seat backs from the driver's side and passenger side because we built the driver's side seat first. And both of them were disassembled, and I kind of gave the driver's seat all the best stuff. And I did some plastic welding on the passenger seat to fix some of the broken stuff inside these seats. The backs have a really thin plastic tabs on them, and of course they were broken on the driver's seat. And I plastic welded them back together, but I think one of them broke again, and now my wife is complaining about how uncomfortable the seat is, and I'm like, see, I was saying for years how uncomfortable this seat is, and now you have to deal with it. And I'm like, oh, now we can get new seats. So now we probably will upgrade these seats at some point, stuff like that, just things to improve the car a little further, make it nicer to drive. But yeah, man, I'm really excited for this turbo. So I think that's all I've got for you for now. I will probably shoot another quick video once we get it up and running, and then you guys can hear it at the same time as when I do. And yeah, long as it doesn't blow up, I think we'll be good. I should be fine. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys. We'll see you guys next time. And yeah, stay tuned. Peace.